So today we are reviewing the EASYLONGER ES960 portable battery CPAP backup. And it's not just for CPAPs, you can do all sorts of stuff with it. But what it does come with is all of these adapters to function with various CPAPs. The supported CPAPs are the ResMed Airsense 9, the ResMed Airsense 10, Aircurve 10, the ResMed AirMini, and the Philips Dreamstation. And you know, I was using this on my Dreamstation too, so it might actually support a few more models than what's listed here, but those are what the cables are. The main feature of this is it has a variable voltage output. So it's a lithium iron phosphate battery, which after testing it, I believe it gets its rated capacity of 297.6 watt hours. The way it works is you have these outputs right here on the top, and that DC output there. You take your battery, you turn it on, and it'll blink, and you can set what the voltage is that you need for whatever particular CPAP that you're using. So mine, Dreamstation 2, uses 12 volt. And so 12 volt will come out of this port here through a DC to DC converter, setting the voltage to exactly what you want. But also, you know, I was already using my CPAP on batteries through one of these 12 volt cigarette ports, right? One of these power supplies. So it's not included with this set, but it's something you buy separately. And so, you know, a DC cord like this, something that you could run from your car or, you know, something like that, I think it's a good purchase. And here's why. Because the output limitations of going through the DC to DC converter out this top DC port, that limits you to 5 amps. And if you go above that, you're gonna, you know, overheat it. It's gonna have to shut off to cool down, protect, and you'll disrupt your sleep. So what 5 amps means is, you know, watts is volts times amps, right? So 12 volts at 5 amps is 60 watts. A lot of CPAP devices with heat and humidity will exceed that 60 watt rating, whereas these 12 volt outputs are rated up to 15 amps. That means that these can reliably supply 180 watts, and you know, a lot of CPAPs with heat and humidity on will run, the internet says 70 to 100 watts. I have no idea what my Dreamstation 2 runs, but if we believe the capacity of this battery and the fact that I did have 6.5 hours of sleep with heat and humidity on, that means that my Dreamstation 2 is pulling somewhere around 46 watts. And that would be supported here or here. I only tested it here because I didn't want to disrupt my sleep too much, because I hate having a bad night with a lot of apnea events. I try real hard to avoid that. I know that 6.5 hours sounds like a very short lifespan for a battery, but the heat and humidity is a huge draw. When you use your CPAP on a battery backup, you almost always, unless you have some huge like home backup, you almost always want to turn off the heat and humidity. And so when I turned off the heat and humidity and tested this, here's my results. But basically I got 40 hours. I got 40 hours of use time off of this, and so what that means is you get 5 8-hour nights, you get 5.77 hour nights, and 6.66 hour nights. And so I attempted it for 7 nights, and on the 7th night it shut off after about 20 minutes. five nights on this, that means that if you took this camping, you could charge your devices, sleep a couple nights, and run a whole bunch of, I don't know, some LED lights off of it. There's USB lights, there's cigarette lighter lights, all sorts of stuff. But speaking of lights, this thing also has a flashlight on it. And it took me a while to figure this out. I struggled with it a bit. So there's this button here that has a light indication. 2 quick clicks, click, click. You get a pretty bright, you know, white light. 2 clicks to turn that off. And then if you push and hold it, 1, 2, you get this, they call it an emergency light, but I think it's more like a night light. You know, so if you're in your tent, you could push and hold this button and you can get this pleasant little orange glow, warm light for a night light if you wanted. With this 2 LEDs powering it, I don't think you would notice the loss. The brighter one is bright enough. It might limit how much time you get to sleep with it, all right? You charge through this DC input here. You can charge it through a USB-C or through a DC input. And it takes a wide voltage range, which is kind of nice, from 18 to 24 volts, 4 amp max input through the DC input port. And so I guess what that means, because part of this is marketed as like a solar charging battery backup. It doesn't come with a solar panel, but I guess if you bought a 18 to a 24 volt solar panel, you could plug it in and go to town with it. But then the DC input, it'll go as low as 5 volts up to 20 volts. So that means there is another DC to DC converter, like a boost buck converter, that will you know, raise a low voltage input through the USB-C to charge this 12.4 volt nominal battery. And that's pretty neat. A huge part of the marketing is that there's a pass-through functionality of this, where you can charge it through the DC input and use it through the cigarette lighter output. When I tried this one night, and it didn't go so well. I mean, by not go so well, it means when I woke up the next day, the CPAP had more charge than this, you know, what was left. I totally depleted it at 6.5 hours without pass-through charging. At 7.5 hours, it had 1 bar of charge left. And so it's like, okay, extended the life, but then, you know, I turned off the CPAP, I unplugged it, and I just left it plugged in. And 24 hours later, it had not charged itself. So something had happened during the pass-through charging process where the battery would not take a charge. I think the BMS protected itself from the charge, and the way to charge, what I had to do to get it charged again was I had to unplug the power supply, come back a half hour later, plug it back in, and then it started charging for me. So it's not a, you know, pass-through charging is possible, but my experience with it was not a smooth one. It wasn't totally automatic. You know, and by the time you realize it's not charging, because since it takes, you know, 10 hours to charge it with the little power supply they send, it, you know, it's I don't know, but by the time you notice it's not charging and you need to unplug it and plug it back in to reset it, a whole day has been wasted and it won't be charged for the next night. So the pass-through charging, despite being a huge part of their marketing, I think is dubious. That wasn't a great experience. So speaking of small power supply, in their instructions it says, please use supplied adapter or PD charger. 60 watt or above is recommended, not included. So the supplied power adapter, it says it's 20 volts at 2 amps. Volts times amps equals watts. So it's a 40 amp power supply, and it recommends you use a 60 amp. I don't know why they don't just send you what they want, but you know, I guess you got to upcharge for some stuff every now and again, right? So here's where my main frustration with this battery came in is this state of charge is so unreliable. I slept 6 hours one night with the heat and humidity on, using almost all the capacity of the battery. This indicator still read 100%. I went into the next night thinking I still had a lot of power left, and then 20 minutes later it died. It just turned off. I mean, it's a total mess, right? So I slept all night only for like 20, maybe 30 minutes of CPAP use, and the rest of the time having apnea events. I woke up the next day feeling terrible. And so that was my first charge cycle. The second charge cycle was an incomplete charge cycle where I took this out camping one night. It did fine, whatever, right? The third charge cycle, charged it all the way back up, and that's when I did the no heat and humidity test, and it died on me too. On you know, starting night 7, it still had 1 bar of charge, which is, from its instruction manual, supposed to be 25% capacity left. It collapsed on me 20 minutes later. Fell asleep. Again, CPAP turns off because the state of charge is just so unreliable. That's just an ongoing theme with my experience with this, is the state of charge cannot be trusted. You know, and then the fourth charge cycle, I charged it up, and then I did the pass-through experiment where, you know, but anyways, yeah. So does this thing supply the power it claims? I believe it does. Does it do all the functions that it claims? I believe it does. I've run my CPAP from the DC output and the cigarette lighter output, and it all seems to be fine. I just don't think you can trust that state of charge. I don't think the pass-through charging is reliable. But for where these, you know, the price come down on these recently, when I started my review, they were $300, and now I think they're $270. So for that amount of money, getting this much battery with a lithium iron phosphate battery, which is just ideal for a 12-volt system, it's a great chemistry. You get tons of cycles, and it just naturally matches. You know, when you have 4 cells in a row, the output of a 12-volt battery. And then, you know, the discharge curve of lithium iron phosphate is incredible for 12-volt. You know, fully charged, you're at like 13.5 volts. And then with about 80 to 90% of the battery depleted, you are still around like 12.6, 12.7 volts. I mean, you can use up almost the entire battery capacity for less than a single volt drop. And that's a great chemistry for what we're trying to do here. It's not as dense of a storage medium as lithium ion batteries, but the lithium iron phosphate is dense enough. I mean, the fact that you can get 40 hours of use, at least with my Dreamstation 2, out of this little battery seems to be a good deal. So I guess I need to come clean with the fact that I didn't buy this. It was sent to me free if I make a review. And so that's what we're doing. This is sponsored in kind content, and I really did put it through the ringer, but I am being truthful with my frustrations with it as well. So the rest of the video is going to be unboxing, testing, and then a little conclusion at the end where I'm a bit more frustrated than I am currently talking about this. Okay, I just want to make it very clear that it makes me nervous that it has such trouble knowing its own state of charge. Because something we can all relate to is, imagine your laptop, and when your laptop battery starts messing up, it'll say it's charged, and you unplug it, you get 15 minutes, or it'll say it's charged, you unplug it, and the thing dies. You know, like that is a sign that cells are out of balance, or they have different, you know, capacities, and it's very, very, very important for your cells to be like nearly identical, matching each other in self-discharge capacity and everything. That way, as you use it and as you cycle it, you know, they all come up and down together. And so when something says it has a you know, enough charge left to do the job, and you put a load on it, and the BMS protects the battery and turns off the battery pack, it sounds a lot like it's got a bad cell, or a cell that's you know, way out of balance, you know, in its charge rate. Like you have most of the cells are fully charged, you have one that's half charged or something. Or it could mean that you know, maybe these cells had a high, or one or two of them have a high self-discharge rate in comparison to the others, and it sat in the warehouse long enough before it got to me that it brought them out of balance that way. I don't know. I mean, it's a new product, so it's not your old laptop battery dying, but just, you know, it shouldn't do that. It just really shouldn't do that. So now on with the rest of the video. Today we're going to look at this EASYLONGER CPAP battery backup system. So this is something you can get from Amazon, and so the exact name is EASYLONGER CPAP battery backup ES960, and it says it is a 297.6 watt hour or 96,000 milliamp hour power station. And it says that it has cables, so you can power the ResMed Airsense 9, Airsense 10, Aircurve 10, and the AirMini, and also the Philips Dreamstation line. And this is a lithium iron phosphate battery. And I've never had a lithium iron phosphate battery before, but everything you read about them is that you get a whole lot more cycles of the battery before the battery capacity diminishes to that 80%. So this says 3,000 cycles of, you know, full charge and discharge before you're down to that 80%. And this is an interesting product. It's got all sorts of inputs and outputs, and you can vary the voltage of the outputs, as well as you can have different charge inputs. It's claiming to have a USB-C input, so you could charge this from the same thing you charge your phone with if you need to. That's pretty interesting. So what it looks like this product is it's a battery pack that had been, you know, developed for, marketed for outdoor use, and then they made all the wires so you can connect it to your CPAP. Now that's pretty cool. Let's get into this thing. EASYLONGER contacted me and they gave me this sample for free. And so this is, I guess, a sponsored piece of content. I've never done one of these before. So it's sponsored in kind, where I get a free backup battery for my CPAP if I make a review on it. So let's just open it, see what we're working with here. Oh. Wow, it is pretty. It looks like it's got a flashlight. Let's get into it more. So it's got a little protector for the screen. We'll go ahead and lose that. We got a battery indicator. We got a flashlight mode. And then we got the voltage output, 12 volt. So I'm holding these buttons down. We got 12 volt, 16.5 volt, 20 volt, 24 volt, and 12 volt. And that controls, I think, this DC output right here. Yeah. Alright, so before we look at all the accessories, let's just go ahead and see if we can charge a phone. Yeah, charge indication's on. So wireless charging works. Very nice. So this cord is a Philips Dreamstation or System 160 cord. So that should work for both the Dreamstation 1 and 2. This is a USB-C cord for, you know, charging this or charging a phone. We have the ResMed Airsense 10 cord. We have the ResMed AirMini cord. Then we have the wall wart for charging this device. What are we at? Output of 20 volts at 2 amps. The DC input is from 18 to 24 volts. And then the USB-C input, it can take 5, 9, 12, 15, or 20 volts and charge it that way. It seems like they're using some sort of charge controller that has a DC to DC conversion rate to, you know, for the inputs and the outputs. You know, a DC to DC converter in my homemade battery pack, which is, I think, the reason why they contacted me to send me this unit. You know, I have a video up where I make this DIY version, and what I have here is a buck boost converter. It's a DC to DC converter, because these lithium ion batteries that I have, they you know, their max charge is 16.8 volts, and I wanted to step it down to 12.5. And so this DC to DC, you know, boost buck converter, it has a little pot in it, a little screw head, and you can twist it, and that'll determine the output voltage. So I stepped down the voltage in this to 12.5 volts, and then also if this thing goes below 12.5 volts, this can also step up the voltage, so I can keep constant voltage to my CPAP when I use it. And so, you know, this will have similar technology to this, but probably a lot more sophisticated, because this is just a really cheap thing off of Amazon that I got. I think these are like, these buck converters might be like $7 or something. But anyways, back to this. So it has a 20 volt charger, but it can go up to 24 volts or down to 18 volts to charge. And what's this last one? For ResMed S9. So, you know, on all these we'll have the 12 volt side, or, you know, whatever, the DC plug that goes into the battery, and then whatever the output side that your CPAP uses. So the one for me will be the Philips Dreamstation. I got 2 Dreamstations. So one of the conditions that led me to build this battery pack was I live in Texas, and during the power outage where we had the rolling blackouts, I couldn't sleep with my CPAP therapy at night. So, you know, I wound up taking the truck battery out of my car and using the little cigarette lighter adapter for car camping, and sleeping with a car battery next to my bed so I could use my CPAP at night. So I built this. And so having like a refined product that's a little bit easier to use versus, you know, like right now I'm charging this up using a power supply, and that you have to, you know what voltage to set it, because if I went 17 volt charge on this on accident, I would burn these up and set my house on fire, right? So this is a bit of a learning curve. Just having an all-in-one, easy-to-use device is very attractive thing to have. But one of the questions, and this is from their Amazon site, someone asks, can it charge and discharge simultaneously? And the answer is yes. The ES960 supports pass-through charging, equipped with premium batteries, blah, 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 blah. Just feel free to use it the way that better suits your needs. So if you were in a rolling blackout situation, you could have your CPAP plugged into this, and then you could have the charger plugged into the other side, since it will pass through, and it could just be a standing backup for when in the middle of the night you have every other hour the power going on and off, like we did here in Texas during that bad winter storm. Let's look at the Dreamstation 1 real quick. So I haven't actually tried to use this since I've gotten my replacement, because these devices were recalled because they had toxic foam that was giving people cancer or something. So this is the Dreamstation 1, and what was so nice about using the Dreamstation 1 is to convert it to camping, where it doesn't use humidifying or heated hose, because you never want to use those when you're on a battery. You'll just drain the battery. You'll be lucky to make it through one night when you're literally steaming water all night plus having a heated hose. And this is what the Dreamstation 1 could do. The humidifier just pops off and you don't use it. Then all you have left is the CPAP. And then the heated hose, it gets its power from the humidifier side. And when you plug it into the back of the CPAP, there's no power going to it. So right there, you delete most of the voltage demand, not voltage, but most of the power demand just by using your CPAP like this. So I'm not sure if this will run without the SD card. When you get your recall device, if you signed up for the recall on these, they tell you to take the SD card out of here and put it into the new machine. And so, that's what I did, but we can see if it powers on. So if you're not sure what voltage your machine needs, look at your power brick and just see what the output is. On this one, it says output 12 volts. If we're going to try this DC output, let's make sure we're on 12 volts, which we are, but we'll just do it again. We'll hold this down, change the voltage, cycle it through. There's 12, 16, 20, 24, 12. Okay, so we'll just leave it blinking on 12, and that should settle down. steady 12, so it's putting out 12 volts, and that's our DC output right there. And then we'll take our Philips Dreamstation power supply. Let's just open this up. And so we'll plug this in here. And then we'll plug this in over here. Let's see what happens. It's coming to life. My info, my provider, blah blah blah. Let's see if it'll turn on without an SD card. SD card removed. Well, it's still working. And it's set to my pressure still of 10. Is that millimeters of water? I forget what the rating is. So yeah. So it's working that way. The other way you can use it, if you already have the cigarette lighter adapter. So here's, you know, the official branded Philips device. Is you can go through one of these ports here. So we'll plug in here. The light comes on here. We'll go here. It powers on. Let's turn it on. But yeah, this has been my typical camping setup. I have a 4Runner, and when you lay down the back seats, it's big enough to lay down in. And so I just plug this into the cigarette lighter, and I would overnight in the back of my truck sometimes. You know, pretty easy way of car camping. And then once I built this battery backup, my DIY one, then I started tent camping again. And you know, by camping, you know, I like to go out to the family farm in East Texas, and typically I just mow or something, do some fence cleaning. But I enjoy it. It's a hobby, having a piece of property. So I'm just on their Amazon page for this product, and I'm looking at the ratings, the reviews. Some people really like it. One guy grossly downvoted it because you can't fly with it. You have to have some special certification to bring a lithium battery onto an airplane. And so if you're doing like an overnight flight and you need to sleep, you need one that's allowed legally on an airplane, because you know they don't have power supplies everywhere on these planes, right? And then this guy, he's complaining. He's like, I barely get one night out of this device. But he says he's using it with the humidifier and the heated hose. So, I mean, that's exactly what you would expect, because those are huge power draws. But this guy is like me. Review of free product, 5 stars. Review of free product, 4 stars. And then this guy says it doesn't work with a supplied ResMed 10 cord. They advertise it as working with the ResMed 10. The supplied cord is loose and doesn't fit properly. Plus, I just realized the ResMed 10 needs 24 volts. That means it needs a separate cord with a transformer to step it up. So this guy's review of this, he didn't know how to change the voltage. So that review is kind of obsolete. Another free product review, like what I'm doing now. Can you trust us? That's up to you. Total crap. I purchased this camping, shut off 5 times during the night, only lasted 6.4 hours of use. Yes, the humidifier is on the lowest setting, but I have to have the humidifier for my nose. So then another person, like, you can't have your humidifier and run on a battery. It's just that simple. Not unless you have a huge, like, household backup battery or something. It's just, that's not the way to do. So if it's shutting off, that means it's protecting itself. You know, the electronics in these things, the battery management systems and everything, they get too hot, draw too much current. The electronics get hot, even if the batteries are fine. They shut off, they protect themselves. When they cool off, then they'll come back on. I think all the negative reviews so far, minus the airplane thing, are misunderstandings on what the capabilities of camping with a CPAP and a battery are, okay? I have a hard time understanding how you can charge this with, you know, USB-C port. It's really hard to see, but it says gosh, dirty. It says it can output between, it can do 5 volts at 3 amps, 9 volts at 2 amps. But you know, let's just try it. So I'm taking their charger here, and so this is either 5 or 9 volts depending on what you know, what set of wires inside the plug it wants to use. I'm gonna plug it into an extension cord, and then here on this side it's the DC in and the USB-C in and out. The first time getting your finger under here is a little bit tricky, but it's easier the next. So let's just see what happens to it when I put this in. So I shove that in there, and it shows a charging signal. You see that? It's charging. Interesting. So, I mean, with your cell phone charger that plugs into your cigarette lighter in your car, you can charge this thing as you're driving places. I bet it takes a long time to charge it with such a small power supply, but hey, that's neat. All right, so let's disconnect this and quit charging it, and let's just I think turn it off. You can push and hold this, and I guess the battery indication will, yeah, just goes out on its own eventually. So that's off. I wonder how much voltage it loses if you accidentally leave it on overnight or while you're traveling or in storage. But anyways, for now, I'm just going to, you know, use the wall wart it comes with, plug it into the DC side, and charge it and have it ready to go tonight. The reason why you should charge this before you use it is real simple. The law says that they can't ship these batteries over a certain percent charge, and I think it's pretty low, like maybe 20, 30, maybe up to 40%. I don't know, but all lithium batteries, they never show up in the mail fully charged because it's illegal. They're, you know, the lithium iron phosphates, they don't go up in smoke very often, but the lithium ion ones, dude, there's a lot of videos of those catching fire, and so to be safe for I guess, you know, anything that would fly or anything, or just maybe in a car or a train, they limit the voltage of the pack for shipping, and that prevents a lot of fires apparently. So I've been thinking about the reviews that I see on Amazon where people are having problems running the humidifier, and so I got into the instruction manual. Let me tell you what it says. There's DC inputs and outputs. So the DC output with the variable voltage from hitting the button and changing the voltage, its 12 volt output says it can do 5 amps. Then somewhere in here it also says that there's overcurrent protection. You know, if you're drawing too many amps from the DC output, you know, this battery might protect itself and shut down, like that one review said was happening to it. These little cigarette lighter 12 volt ports, what they say is cigarette lighter socket output 12 volts 15 amp max. So there's more amps available if you use these. So again, we have 2 power options for the Dreamstation here. We have going through this DC port or the cigarette lighter port. So what's that mean when it comes to the power supply? The power supply says its output at 12 volts is 6.67 amps. And you'd think that would be, you know, over-engineered to some degree to be able to run this easily at maximum humidification, maximum you know, pressure, and maximum heated hose. But, you know, how over would they engineer it? Are we talking 6 amps? So anyways, I think if we pretend that this unit is capable of using most of what the power supply can produce, we have a good case to say that if you're trying to run the humidifier on your CPAP from the DC port, there's a good chance of circuit protection happening and turning off this device. You know, once it gets hot or something internally. But it, you know, it uses way less than what this needs. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to sleep tonight with the humidification and the heated tube on, just my normal settings. But I'm going to power it from one of these cigarette lighter ports and just see how much battery is left tomorrow. I do have one question. Are these on all the time, or do you have to turn the battery on to make it work? So these ports down here, they have power when this is turned off. All right, about to get ready for night 2, and I was really surprised by this thing's performance. So again, you know, full settings with the humidity and the heated tube, and this thing still says it's fully charged. You know, it's no longer fully charged, you know, but with only 4 bars, you can imagine one is 0 to 25, so on and so forth. So we haven't gone down enough to indicate 75% charge yet. I didn't, you know, I only slept 5 hours and 53 minutes. That's how long the CPAP ran. I'll keep a tally of hours, and we can rough in nights later. But I'm going to do it again. When I woke up to conserve power, I did pull this out that far, and it's just been sitting here. But we'll see how many nights and hours I can go with heat and humidity on this thing. I'm doing a little movie magic. So I'm reviewing this battery, and I used it last night, and I totally depleted it. It turned off on me in the middle of the night while I was using my CPAP, right? So I'm using my DIY battery pack to try to charge this one up so it can make it through the night, so I can have a camping video for this review. Kind of ridiculous, but you know, such is life sometimes. Well, I'm packing up from a camp out I did, and you know, as long as you turn off the heat, the humidity in the tube, you got plenty of juice to get through the night. Because what happened on my second attempt with this battery, where I thought I could go a second night with the heat and humidity turned on, its little state of charge monitor was just completely wrong. It wasn't at 100%. It actually turned off 20 minutes after I fell asleep. And I woke up at 6 a.m. and there wasn't anything there, so I plugged it back into the wall and turned on the CPAP, and it said that its runtime was 20 minutes. So I laid down, fell asleep, and the battery was depleted. So what that does do is it confirms the one review that said only get 6.5 hours with heat and humidity on. But what that does mean, this fact that you can get that much, is that you probably get 3 or 4 nights sleeping with no heat and humidity. But that needs further testing. But for now, you know, I did it. I camped out with a battery backup. Alright, we are about to enter day 2 of testing how this battery works with this CPAP with heat and humidity both turned off, okay? I've slept one night with this fully charged, 3 hours, 38 minutes. That was last night. And we slept 6 hours and 10 minutes. 5 hours, 56 minutes last night. 7 hours, and we're down to 2 bars. Last night, 6.28 hours. 7.2 hours last night. Alright, well, I just finished the no heater humidity, I guess, range test of this battery pack. And I attempted 7 nights, and I successfully completed 6 actual nights. You can see I don't sleep as much as I should. The shortest night being just under 6, and longest night just being 7 hours 20. But and last night it died on me in the middle of the night. I slept 4 hours with it turned off, and I woke up and I plugged it into the wall. Only got 20 minutes to last night. So one day, 15 hours, 52 minutes is the runtime that I got. That means, you know, round it up a little bit, 40 hours. So, you know, 5 nights at 8-hour nights, a little under 6 nights at 7-hour nights, a little more than 6 nights on 6-hour nights. I think that's pretty good. The next thing I want to test is the pass-through charge and use ability. So since this is depleted, I'm going to go ahead and plug this in and start charging it. And it'll start charging back up. But tonight I'm going to run it with the charge cord in, using heat and humidity out of one of these big round 12 volt ports that can handle the 15 amps, and just see if it can last as long as I sleep. I mean, I know it can without charging. So if I, that only lasted, if you remember, 6 hours 20 minutes, maybe 6.5 hours. I forget exactly now. I need to recheck my notes. Off of the battery using the heat and humidity. So if I go farther than that, 7 hours with this plugged in, it would function with a pass-through charging would make this a uninterruptible power supply for your heat and humidity, which is something that you need when you're going through the rolling blackouts like we had here in Texas, where we had 1 hour power, 1 hour of not power. So you could just run your CPAP normally, buffering, coasting past the power outages with this, and then when the power comes back on, it puts a little bit more power in that you can draw from, and you can make it through the night. And after that, I guess I'll need to edit a video. Okay, so my pass-through charging experiment worked, but I might have broken something. So long story short, I woke up after 7 hours of sleep with it at this state of charge, blinking the second bar, solid, first bar. So I thought, oh hey, yeah, it lasted longer. The pass-through charging is working, but it's been 24 hours trying to charge it back up, and it hasn't changed. The wall wart is warm, so it's turned on. It's trying to make something happen, but the state of charge isn't changing. And I've had a lot of frustration with this state of charge. After I depleted the battery the first time, it said full charge, and then I went to go sleep a second night, and then it just died. And then at the end of this test, where I did no heat and humidity, it said it had this solid bar at the bottom, and it shut off after 20 minutes. So I don't know, you can't trust the state of charge apparently. So I don't know if it's just not charging, or if maybe the battery management system, the BMS, is in a state of protection. So I'm going to turn on the light and unplug it and see if it stays on. It says it's staying on. It says it's got 2 bars of charge. I guess the batteries are fine since it's not shutting off. I'm just going to let it sit for about 30 minutes and then plug it back in and continue charging, seeing if I can get it to take a charge. But I think pass-through charging, if it's having this issue where it won't charge after you use your CPAP on it while you're charging it, is a no-go. I think that's the conclusion. No pass-through charging with this. Alright, so this is set for a little over half an hour. The reason why I wanted it to sit was if the BMS was rejecting a charge for some reason. Once it goes into that state, typically, as long as you're charging it, it'll stay there. So removing, the power supply from this should allow the BMS to relax and allow a charge to happen again, if there's nothing wrong with anything in there. So I'm going to give it another, check on it tonight and see if it comes back to life, if it starts charging properly or not. This might be a deal breaker for this battery, and because it's struggling with a state of charge is not a good sign, because these lithium iron phosphate batteries, they're very simple to tell the state of charge. They have a very consistent voltage drop as you discharge them. So hopefully you can see this fine. This is a 12 volt lithium iron phosphate battery discharge curve, and so you can get easily 80% of the voltage out with less than a 1 volt drop, right? So look at this with numbers. When it's charging, it's 12.4. When it's fully charged, you have 13.5 volts. I think what they're using here might be slight, I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. But look, so from 100% charge, 13.5 volts, all the way down to 20% battery left, you're at 12.9 volts, okay? And for this state of charge to be so inaccurate and to have given me so much grief, I'm wondering if we have a bad cell inside of here. That's the theory. Let's just see if it'll come back to life before I condemn it. But so far, I'm a little nervous. You know, I don't think everything is okay inside of there, and it's sealed up so tight. I don't really know how to open it without breaking it. I really wanted this to work. I agreed to make this video for a free product because I wanted this product. That's what we're coming down to. I'm not getting paid. I'm getting paid in kind with a free battery. But this battery, I'm suspicious of it. But we'll check on it later. It looks like it's starting to charge, which I'm grateful for, because otherwise I'd be making this video for free. Because this battery is my payment for the video. So I'm glad that letting it sit and then charging again brought it back. But that's a big disappointment, not having a pass-through charge, because that's, you know, the conditions that I want to protect myself against are the rolling blackouts that we had here in Texas. And if we were able to have had a pass-through charge, that would have just been ideal. But it obviously doesn't like that. I don't know why it doesn't like that. It could be that these cells aren't well matched. You know, these could be, you know, like a lower grade of cell that they use in here. And maybe some of them have higher, you know, less capacity and more capacity than one another, or, you know, there's, you know, there's lots of things that could cause a BMS to freak out, or maybe it's just not designed to do this, and them saying it is on their you know, questions answered part of the Amazon page that they're selling this at is just wrong information. But I'm glad it's charging. Let's just keep going, see where it comes to, because that would have been a big bummer if it died after like 4 charge cycles. So, in conclusion, this battery, it did charge back up. I don't know why it blocked it, but it seems to be functioning now. I'm confused. I don't understand why the battery monitor is just so inaccurate. So, in this instruction manual, it says, you know, 1 grid means 25%, 2 is 50, 3 is 75, 4 is 100% battery capacity. We know that the discharge curve on lithium iron phosphate batteries is nearly flat, and all you have to do is, without it being under load, observe the voltage, and you have a good understanding of the state of charge. Why is this so bad at understanding the state of charge? I mean, it's extremely frustrating that after one night of use with heat and humidity on, it still claimed to have 100% charge. I go for a second night, and it just collapses, turns off after 20 minutes after I fall asleep, leaving me with a night without CPAP. Now, saying that, I do think I'm getting the full capacity out of this battery, because you know, it says very clearly that it is a 297.6 watt hour device. And I did pull 6.5 hours of full heat and humidity out of this. Full heat and humidity on your CPAP is a huge amount of energy. Let's just fiddle with some math for a second, okay? All right, so the battery pack is 297.6 watt hours. I got 6.5 hours of use out of it. So you divide the watt hours by the hours, and it tells you how many watts you're using you know, per hour on your device, if this capacity is correct. So you know, doing this math, it says I'm using 45.78 watts an hour running the CPAP on heat and humidity. And that's believable, because if you Google how much power does a CPAP use with heat and humidity, they'll tell you it's anywhere between 70 to 100 watts. So either my CPAP is pulling 7,200 watts and this battery is way underrated, or more likely my CPAP uses less than what the internet might presume you to think it uses. So I think there's excellent evidence that I am pulling full capacity off this battery, and that there's some electronic programming computer calculation issue that prevents this from working properly. This might just be a completely fine battery that frustrates you because its state of charge is just so bad. Another thing which is very frustrating is the fact that the one time that I try to pass through charge this thing, it gets weird. It does extend the life of it, and I got more time out of it, but it wouldn't charge on its own after I turned the draw off. It went into some sort of protection mode where it was not charging the battery through the DC charger, and I don't think that's a real good sign. Because this battery pack is all about it. All of their marketing, even if you go to Alibaba and you look at the company that actually makes this battery, they say that it supports pass-through charging if you charge it through the DC charge port and you draw power from these, the 12 volt cigarette lighter ports down here. That is specifically what it's designed for. A solar panel can go in here and you can run your electronics from here. When you're out and about, living your life in the wilderness, blah, blah, blah. And when I tried to do it, it wouldn't charge. I mean, it sat on the charger for 24 hours after I passed through charge, used it, and then it didn't change the state of charge at all until I unplugged it, let it rest for a while, reset, and plugged it back in. So that's a negative. Final note here. It says, please use supplied adapter or PD charger. 60 watt or above is recommended, not included. So it recommends having a 60 watt charger on it. And what they send is, so we have 20 volts at 2 amps. Volts times amps equals watts. So the included power supply is a 40 watt power supply, and it recommends 60. And so if this is if we believe this math, that I'm using somewhere around 45.78 watts an hour, and we're supplying it with 40, I probably should have emerged on the other end of a pass-through charge night at a much higher state of charge. And if I had a 60 watt power supply, you would think that you would come out with my usage with this thing fully charged, and it would be functioning as a battery backup, not drawing any of the battery power at all. But also the marketing says that this can handle up to 80 watts charging. So what went wrong with my pass-through charging event? I don't get it. It should have worked a little bit better for me, I believe. But let's say you buy one of these and yours isn't being difficult with you, and it works perfectly. You pass through charge, you have this uninterruptible battery backup, so you can make it through whatever rolling blackouts and the kinds of things. Here's the warning for that. Although the 12 volt socket is capable of pass-through charging, avoid charging and discharging the battery at the same time, as this may reduce the battery's lifespan. So for emergency use, the pass-through charging is a very awesome option if it works for you. But for like just having it plugged in, pass-through charging when there is no risk of rolling blackouts or something, you'll just shorten the lifespan, because these lithium iron phosphate batteries, the marketing for this one from the Amazon link that I'm going to link below to buy this says it's a 3,000 cycle battery. If you go to the Alibaba website, which appears to manufacture these, they say more than 1,000 times, and they label it 2,000 to 3,000 cycles. And what the cycle means is it gets that many cycles before the battery pack is at 80% capacity or something like that. You you know, in a really good lithium iron phosphate battery that doesn't bloat and deform and die, and it just goes and goes, you can cycle them, you know, 10,000 times, and then allegedly they'll still have 60% battery capacity. Is this a good option? It really might be. I had my problems with the state of charge and the pass through. Something weird happened. So final note on this, and we're wrapping up the video. This battery pack, unbranded, without the EASYLONGER name on it, if you go to Alibaba to buy this, they want $500. Right? It's crazy, huh? And then when I started my review on Amazon, these were $300. And the price has already dropped by about $20, $25, maybe $30. but the price has already come down on these. So it's you know, I don't know. For being the largest battery backup in the EASYLONGER lineup, and actually testing where you could get most of a night's sleep with heat and humidity, and you can get 40 hours with you know, no heat and humidity. I mean, that's pretty good. Just the state of charge, unreliable. The pass-through charging did not work properly for me. You know, just know about that. I don't think this is a bad product. They claim to have a 2-year warranty, and they say they have a good customer support. I haven't tried it. I don't know if I get a warranty when they give you a battery. So, anyways, that's my review of the EASYLONGER. What is the model number? Outdoor battery backup ES960. I hope that was useful to somebody. Y'all be good. See you around.